Coming up on Tech News today, has Adobe killed off Flash? Well, something else is surviving. Nvidia's Kal-el chip reveals its secret identity and what HP plans for WebOS. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This may or may not be Tech News Today for Wednesday, November 9th, 2011. I am not a certified expert in chronology. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford, featuring voice-activated sync AppLink. Now you can control select smartphone apps with your voice, so you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Check it out in the 2012 Ford Fiesta and at Ford.com/technology. And by Slingbox, which just turned your iPad into a television. Slingbox introduces their new iPad app, so now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. Check it out at Best Buy or Slingbox.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz, Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And we have got a show for you today.
Good.
Outages, killings, actually real killings in some cases. I forgot about that one before I said that. I take that back. I meant Flash when I said that just now. But that's what I mean. It's that kind of show.
Well, for some people, it's very sad. It's a very sad death.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. First, something that is not dead, but maybe dying, is RIM. Research in Motion posted on their Twitter very fast this time. We're getting reports that some users are experiencing delays. We're investigating and we'll update you ASAP. And RIM said in a statement to Ina Fried, who will be on the show tomorrow, by the way, from All Things D, there is no system-wide outage. However, we are investigating reports that some users in Europe, the Middle East, India, and Africa, so just half the world, have experienced delays.
But no widespread outage. Just a lot of people.
If you, chat room, if you hear anything more about this, as we go through the show, let us know.
And RIM has been updating on their Twitter page, twitter.com/BlackBerry.
The Adobe Flash days on mobile devices are over. And that is not an exaggeration. Adobe has announced officially they've ended development on Flash for Android and BlackBerry. Flash will continue to ship bug fixes and security support. Flash Player 11.1 will be released, but be the last. We hardly knew your battery-draining ways, mobile Flash.
And lack of frames when you try to watch video, and that little icon that would show up on iOS devices that look like a Lego block because it was still in Flash.
But they're gone now. Adobe says, do you think they choked a little when they wrote this? HTML5 is the best solution for creating and deploying content in the browser across mobile platforms.
That had to hurt.
They will continue to support Air on mobile, so developers can package Flash content as a mobile app. And at the same time, unrelated, but maybe sort of related, they plan to eliminate, not offer. It's the opposite of offer.
Offer alternatives to employment.
Yeah, to 750 of their full-time employees. Maybe some of those people are in the mobile Flash department. They will continue to offer Creative Suite, as well as expanding tablet-based touch apps and cloud-based software. And as we mentioned, invest further in HTML5 with things like Dreamweaver, Edge, and PhoneGap. And the company confirmed through a statement to GigaOM that, like mobile, it will no longer focus on porting the Flash plugin into web browsers on consumer electronics devices, but believes developers should build native apps on those devices instead.
So this is Adobe basically saying that one of their bread and butter things is now obsolete and not relevant.
Well,
like
just
they're
on
actually
mobile.
coming out and saying, well, yes, but on mobile. But like
what they're saying is we lost the mobile war.
Right.
They wanted to bring Flash to the... Flash is still ascendant on the desktop. Sure. Most video is done in Flash. And they're not giving that up.
And a lot of restaurant menus as well.
Yes, a lot of restaurant menus, sadly. But for mobile... their whole thing was, we're going to develop Flash, and yeah, Apple, you don't want to put it on iOS? Fine. It's going to work great on Android, and it's going to work great on BlackBerry and Windows Phone, and you're going to love it.
The problem is that Google and Microsoft, along with Apple, are both behind HTML5 and been very vocal about that too. So it's like Adobe really just can't win. I mean, I'm not really surprised that they have to say something like, listen, HTML5 is the best solution. We're going to start investing our time and effort into that. because they have no choice.
Well, Adobe does make HTML5 products as well. I think they have some converters that turn Flash into HTML5, so they're probably going to just be pushing that harder and harder. A lot of snarky blogs I saw this morning, they were saying, like, what are the Android tablets going to say now? Like, normally they say it runs Flash.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no Flash now. So.
Well, it still will run Flash because
That's right.
It just won't
Flash
be
Player
developed
11.1 will still work for years.
So those will still be in the ads for a little bit.
But I think Adobe realizes, you know what? We just could not properly port it to mobile. It was too buggy. We could not make it do what Flash needed to do. It lost options. It would crash. And we're going to recognize that HTML5 is the way, and we're going to move in that direction. And that's smart. Adobe should do that. Absolutely.
I think GigaOM had a graph of some internal tests that they had run where it was like I think it was the Playbook and the Zoom did pretty well on Flash, but the Galaxy Tab would run Flash about 8% of the time when they tried to run it. So that's another thing. It's like if you've got this fragmented experience where certain tablets work okay, other tablets are abysmal, that's not good for anybody.
So let's be clear. We're talking about mobile Flash. There's a few people in the chat room who are like, wait, I'm looking at something in Flash right now. Yeah. Mobile Flash is going to be retired after 11.1, so Flash will still exist on some mobile devices today. It's not like they took it out back and
shot it in
got
the
rid.
head.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know what they do behind the shed, but I figure it's not good.
The big Adobe shed.
Don't you kind of think that the influence of mobile in just technology nowadays means that they kind of are taking it out to the back shed and shooting it? I think they don't have much confidence in it if they're killing it.
I think what they're saying is we need to move now to bet on the future. The future is HTML5, and we can make great products for HTML5, so that's what we're going to do. But we're not going to give up this cash cow that is Flash on the desktop yet
until it isn't dead.
Because it's far from dead.
Right.
And it will take years for Flash to die out on the desktop. But I think what they're acknowledging is good forward thinking, which is it's going to, because, like you just said, everything's moving towards mobile. And as that happens, more and more sites are going to say, well, we don't want to use Flash at all because we want to make sure everything works on mobile.
What about all of those sites who had some Flash developer make them one nice thing where they did restaurant menus is a good example. It's like every once in a while they go in and change their Sunday brunch, but everything else is all pretty and splashy. I haven't been able to see that stuff on my iPad since I got an iPad, and I just stopped really caring. It's going to take a while for sites to catch up.
For those sites to die. I never liked them. Even long before the iPhone was even a glimmer in Steve Jobs or Jonathan Ive's eye, I was always upset by these sites that put Flash pages up and splash pages because they were buggy and they would crash, and if you didn't have scripts running, then they wouldn't execute properly, and it's a bad way to design a website. So
it's a good time to be a web developer right now. You could do all the conversions.
If you're an HTML5
have a special rate right now. If you're a restaurant right now,
that is a lucrative job right now.
And supporting that, Mary Jo Foley reporting that sources tell her Microsoft will stop developing Silverlight after the release of Silverlight 5. Now, this is not official from Microsoft, but Mary Jo says she's got several people saying, yeah, Silverlight 5 will come out and then that'll be it.
Now, Silverlight was their alternative to Flash. That was Microsoft's alternative, but that Netflix actually does use still. So I don't know if Netflix is going to switch to some other situation there, because I know Microsoft's been saying a lot. HTML5 is the future. They have it on their Metro browser. There's been a huge question whether even Silverlight will run on their Metro Internet Explorer. So it's probably on the way out.
Nvidia has now officially released Kal-el's secret identity as Tegra 3. The Tegra 3 is officially out. The quad-core processor, if you don't remember, they announced this earlier this year, the famous 5th core. They announced this at Mobile World Congress, so that you'll actually have 4 cores. One is 1.4 gigahertz, the other 3 are 1.3 gigahertz, and then there will be a 5th core that runs at 500 megahertz for things like very low power or standby operations, like push stuff that needs to happen when the screen is off. They claim that Tegra 3 uses 61% less power when running 720p video than the Tegra 2. And the first product that's going to have it, or at least the first one to be announced, is the Asus ePad Transformer Prime, a 10-inch Super IPS Plus display. Tegra 3 ships inside, coming in December for $499. There'll also be a 64-gig model for $599. And you can buy that fancy keyboard dock to transform it for an extra $149. They're claiming 12-hour battery life for the tablet, and then you get an additional 6 hours from the dock. It'll ship stock with Android 3.2, but they're saying in early December, so shortly after it ships, they should get Ice Cream Sandwich.
Well, that's too bad. They're killing Flash with Adobe. Now you have this more powerful processor coming out on tablets. Maybe it could have run Flash well.
I think they just couldn't make it execute. But yeah,
you got the Tegra 3 out there. It's going to be a monster. I mean, it's supposed to be able to handle so many different things, and it's going to be interesting to see this in tablets because I mean, you want to do more and more on there, and when you see that transformer, I mean, it's really sleek looking. I mean, it looks like one of their Ultrabooks. It's really thin, and even with the keyboard, it looks entirely thin. So
that keyboard dock, I don't remember what the first gen keyboard dock sold for, but you have to buy the new one because this one is slimmer, so it's not compatible with the first keyboard. Otherwise, it's awesome.
The roadmap for the Tegra line is out as well, and Kal-el is a portent. They're going to name these, well, not after superheroes, as I was instructed, because Batman is not technically a superhero, in Sarah Lane's opinion.
It's Bruce Wayne with a lot of money and gadgets and wit.
Because he has no superpowers.
So
that's right.
What do you call him?
I call him...
Comic book hero? Anyway, the chips are named after Wayne, due next year, with roughly double the performance. Follow-on chips Logan and Stark are due in 2013 and 2014 and promise logarithmically better performance.
They're actually named after their secret identities, right?
Exactly.
So you got Kal-el, you have Bruce Wayne, or just Wayne, Logan, and Stark.
Can they go back and do Kent again, since they did Kal-el?
Well, I don't know. Maybe if it's like some kind of alternative, not universe, I guess another thing. But I mean, no Barry Allen coming up, because that would be Flash too.
The chat room is still fighting over whether Batman is a superhero.
Listen, Batman is actually my favorite one. I'm just saying. He is
well, what do you call him?
He's more resourceful
I know he's not
than someone who's just
He's
really
marketed
strong.
as a superhero from DC.
Yeah.
But he's not a superhero.
Gord McLeod in the chat room says, not a superhero, but a hero.
Yeah.
Just a hero.
He's a madman. He's got no powers.
Ultra hero?
I think they also call
the
them
same as
metahumans.
super.
No, it's thinner and lighter.
I cede your point.
Nice.
We mentioned this briefly yesterday, but more details have come out, and it's getting a lot more coverage now. Barnes & Noble asking the Justice Department to go after Microsoft in response to Android patent lawsuits, and I understand a little more about what they're asking for here. In a letter to Gene Kimmelman, which is the Department of Justice chief counsel, Barnes & Noble accuses Microsoft of antitrust by abusing their patents. Now, here's what they say. Microsoft tried to get Barnes & Noble to license patents for the Nook. Barnes & Noble refused, claiming that the license would restrict its ability to upgrade the software on its tablet, and Microsoft then sued them in March. Now, that's not the part that makes it antitrust. What Barnes & Noble claims is that the fees Microsoft was demanding were equal to or greater than those it demands for an entire operating system, Windows Phone, even though the patents covered only trivial and non-essential design elements. They also noted that there is only one patent common to the 5 patents it is being sued over, and the 6 that Microsoft was offering to license. So they're saying, look, if those were the issue, why aren't you suing us over those patents that you were trying to sell us licenses to instead of these other 5? These are not worth the money that you're trying to charge, and you're abusing your position in the marketplace regarding patents.
I wonder if it's fair to compare a patent fee to what Microsoft charges for an operating system license, because I don't know what the rates are for patent licensing. So compare, I mean, this is a very different
fair question.
business.
Yeah.
I'm just getting kind of sick of big companies complaining that Microsoft is pushing them around. It's like, this is Barnes & Noble. Google does the same thing. They're like, oh, poor us. We don't have patents. It's like, well, that's your own damn fault. I mean, seriously, they're big companies here. Now, that Barnes & Noble saying that small companies can't compete and they have to do these patent licensing agreements. Well, yeah, that's
Do we
just
consider
the reality.
Barnes & Noble a small player?
They're not a big player. They're not certainly not nearly as big as Microsoft.
They could avoid the whole thing by not using Android, right? That's the other thing. They have the option to do either invest in their own, build a Linux distribution, or do something else. There's no reason, after they've seen what happened, they got sued already, or there's been lawsuits about this for a long time. This is why WebOS keeps popping up. People are like, yeah, you could buy it and use it for something, but there's always another option. They're just using a very customized version of Android and just opening themselves up for trouble.
Well, what they're saying, though, is not, because you're defending the patent system itself, I feel like there. And what Barnes & Noble is saying is there's nothing wrong with the patent system in this case. What they're saying is Microsoft is abusing its position in the marketplace, and that's why it's an antitrust lawsuit, saying, look, they're charging an outlandish fee. And it's a fair question to ask, is this an outlandish fee or not? But I think prima facie, it's worth considering whether it's an outlandish fee, because suing someone saying, well, I have a patent over this bit of an operating system, you would think it shouldn't be more valuable than an entire operating system. Maybe there's cases why it wouldn't, but on the face of it, it's also a fair point on Barnes & Noble's. Like, should I pay Microsoft more? I mean, basically, then Microsoft would be saying, so you'll get a cheaper rate if you just use Windows Phone for your tablet, instead of using
It's like a one-stop shop, I guess. That's an interesting
Well, and that one-stop shop is also called monopoly sometimes. So that's what
they
Barnes
hardly have a monopoly on the mobile market.
But Barnes and Noble says they're trying to create one here. If they can run them off of using Android or make more money off of Android than Windows Phone, I think they definitely have a case. They also raised concerns over deals that Microsoft has entered with Nokia and Mosed. Mosed is a patent aggregation company, and they're sharing their revenues with Nokia and Microsoft and doing licensing. They are calling collusion on that.
I'm sure Microsoft would be really glad to see their old buddies at the DOJ coming over for lunch. I mean, they've been investigated how many times? I mean, they must be on a first-name basis with these guys by now.
Well, when you're that dominant in the marketplace, as Google is learning, you're going to be the target of these kind of suits because you can abuse your position in the marketplace. So just because they're being accused doesn't mean they are, but it also doesn't mean they're not.
Like abuse versus take advantage of. They have taken advantage of their position.
Well, that's the difference between antitrust and just business, and that's what the case is about. Are they just taking advantage of their position in the marketplace, or are they abusing it? And that's why we have antitrust laws. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Ford. And Ford, makers of the Sync AppLink. AppLink enables you to control select apps from your smartphone just by talking. We talk about that all the time with Ford Sync. But if you would like to control apps without leaning down and doing something unsafe by, punching your thing, wouldn't it be better if you just said, hey, play Pandora? And not only that, but you're playing Pandora and you're listening to a station and you realize, I'm not really in the mood for classical right now. I actually want to hear my They Might Be Giants station. Oh, wait, but I never made a They Might Be Giants station. You just say, create They Might Be Giants station. Boom, it's created. You keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel. They've got an API out that allows them to work with developers to bring to life all kinds of apps. OpenBeak is another example. It can read your Twitter feeds to you, read your @replies, read your timeline. Ford AppLink, voice-activated Sync AppLink is available in the 2012 Ford Fiesta, and you can learn more about this and other technologies Ford is bringing to its vehicles at Ford.com/technology. Time now for the third day in a row, the hat trick of Schmidt, my chairman says.
Schmidt trick.
Eric Schmidt opens his mouth and a lot of people pay attention. So let's see if it was worth it. Today, at an Asian press tour in Taipei, which I guess was actually technically yesterday, he announced that Google will continue to support Android OEMs against patent lawsuits, and specifically called Apple's case against HTC not correct. According to Schmidt, Google's support comes in the form of information and access to expertise, and perhaps importantly, access to Google's patent portfolio. Now, they only have 600-some patents right now by all estimates, but as soon as that Motorola mobility deal closes, then they're going to have thousands. And it seemed to be Schmidt kind of laying down like, okay, I'm not saying anything I haven't said before, but the last time I said it, we didn't own Motorola mobility.
Well, they still don't own it yet. They're going to.
And the next time I say it, we will. And then we're coming at you, Apple. We're coming at you, Microsoft. We are going to defend. I mean, I feel like they're just sort of laying the groundwork, going around to HTC in Taiwan, Samsung we talked about yesterday, and saying, we will have your back. You just don't object to this Motorola thing, and we will have your back. We will defend you against patents. He said, we tell our partners, including the ones here in Taiwan, we will support them. We have been supporting HTC in this dispute. They actually sold some patents to HTC in this dispute.
This is pretty consistent, though, right? Schmidt and Rubin and everybody's been saying the same company line. We've got your back. We're gonna take care of this for you. Android's gonna be everywhere. Again, I've said the same thing yesterday. Like, it's in their best interest to make sure Android is everywhere, because then you get locked into the Google system and you get ads. That's all they really care about at the end of the day, is making money. It's not really about, oh yeah, we really want to protect you. It's like, eh.
I just wonder in how much capacity will Google now protect all of its, close partnerships. If Samsung gets sued by, well, they're already getting sued by Apple, but let's just say there's some new lawsuit. At that point, is it Apple against Google? Because it's like all for one, one for all type of thing. Because right now, this is all case-by-case basis. That nobody's suing Google, and Google's not saying like, okay, well, we got this.
I think what you could see is Google come in and do what this mutually assured destruction, the way it's supposed to work. One of the reasons we see so many suits against Android is mutually assured destruction of the current patent balance is out of whack because Google is not being sued. The manufacturers are being sued for Android, which they don't own. And then Google doesn't have enough patents to come back and whack-a-mole and say, well, if you sue the HTC for Android, we're going to sue you for this. I have a feeling what Schmidt is signaling here is when we get these Motorola mobility patents, we will file lawsuits and then reach negotiations and pull all of this stuff.
Well, they're also going to have a long discussion with Microsoft to see if what's going on between those two, because I mean, Microsoft's been really successful getting those revenue streams from Android manufacturers as well, or handset manufacturers.
Yeah, crushing manufacturers into agreeing to their terms because of their position in the marketplace, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Don't put words in my mouth at all.
Well, that's kind of what's going on.
No, it's just business. Just business.
Well, it's
business is sometimes crushing people by using their position in the marketplace.
Fair enough. What I'm saying is, like, they're not just going to be gunning after Apple. They're going to be gunning after Microsoft. It's going to be an interesting time. We're going to be reporting in a couple of weeks eventually of cross-licensing agreement for every company, I bet.
I think we'll see more of that. Also, Schmidt talked about China, admitted the Chinese government is unhappy with, quote, our unwillingness to support censorship. He's standing right across the Taiwanese Strait when he says this. He says he's very happy with Android's growth within the country, though, explaining that Google still enjoys a growing and profitable business in China. So he did say some conciliatory things. I think he's trying to soften up the Chinese, but you know, he wasn't totally bending over when he says censorship. Let's move on to news about Yahoo, because I know you're all on the edge of your seats. Who's going to buy Yahoo? And you think it might be you, but you have to sign an NDA if you want to try to buy Yahoo, because the way this works, Yahoo's making, this is not unusual, you sign an NDA to see the books. We'll show you some inside information that's not public if you sign an NDA. However, part of the NDA says you can't combine with other people to make an offer, because Yahoo wants to sell off little bits of itself. They don't want to give anyone a controlling interest, apparently. So Silver Lake, which is one of the big private equity firms, has agreed to the NDA. Now, that's big news because if you remember, Alibaba Group from China, who are 40% owned by Yahoo, wants to get that 40% back. They've been looking for partners to go make an offer to Yahoo. One of those partners was Silver Lake. Well, now Silver Lake can't team up with Alibaba to make an offer. So we're essentially building two camps here. There's a handful of private equity firms who have signed the NDA and are negotiating directly with Yahoo to buy bits and pieces of Yahoo. And then you've got Alibaba and SoftBank and a few other private equity firms on the outside saying, we're not going to sign that NDA, but we might make an unsolicited offer. Some might call it a hostile offer.
Well, Silver Lake, I mean, they were able to turn around Skype. I mean, they bought it and then they sold it.
Fixer-upper. They
so
flipped it.
The question is, will Silver Lake just
come in? They put in some marble and,
will they come into Yahoo and then just flip it and sell it to Alibaba after the end of the day?
And that's what Yahoo doesn't want to happen.
Flip that media company.
Yeah, Yahoo's like, no.
Premier digital media
Yahoo
company.
wants to sell portions of their house but still live in it.
They're just renting out the first floor.
Yeah, exactly. They might rent out portions of it to Borders.
Well, and they don't want to give up any majority stake in a company that they know is more successful than them.
Well, and to my way of thinking, just from what I've read, and I don't know this, but it seems like this is all coming from Jerry Yang. Jerry Yang does not want to let go of his baby. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen CEOs have a hard time. I think it's one of the reasons that Microsoft's offer back in the day got turned down, is because Jerry Yang still wants to run this company. And he's trying desperately to figure out how he can sell the company and maintain control of it.
I mean, a lot of people are calling for Yang to say, look, what are you? Are you a buyer or a seller? You can't be both at the same time.
He's a Yahoo. That's what he is. Somebody said his baby is dying. Well, yeah, baby's not dying, but baby's not doing so well.
Baby's
you
in the
need
ICU.
to pay a little more attention to the baby and less about selling the crib. Let's move on to HP's All Associates meeting yesterday. We mentioned this.
Explosive news.
WebOS.
Crazy stuff.
The determination of its future. Meg Whitman talked to the troops and said, it's really important to me to make the right decision, not the fast decision. If HP decides to keep WebOS, we're going to do it in a very significant way. We're going to keep it like crazy. She didn't say that part. She said we're going to do it in a very significant way over a multi-year period.
If we do that.
It's a very expensive proposition, but HP can make that bet.
Wait a minute. Now, she's making a line between fast and right decisions. They made the decision to keep the PC group pretty fast.
In fact, they bragged about how we're going to make this decision fast.
They did it very quickly, so maybe
it must have been wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I mean, they must have thought, okay, this is the right decision when they kept the personal systems group. Is that what it's actually called?
Right.
That must be the right decision. But right now, they obviously don't really want to keep this thing. I mean, if they wanted to keep it, they would say, yeah, we got it. We're going to invest in it. We're going to be the best. And it's like, all right, WebOS is
so it's like almost like a bluffing thing. Like, we might just keep it after all because we got the money.
Interesting.
We got the talent. maybe we don't even want to sell. And then someone goes
Negotiating
like,
tactic.
wait a second, you're actually looking more attractive since you're not so desperate anymore.
It's like when I was trying to buy that rare baseball card from you, and we couldn't agree on a price, and you said, well, you know what, maybe I'm just going to keep the baseball card. And I'm like, well, wait, no, hold on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing hard to get, or like they're just walking out of the dealership kind of thing. They're like, yeah, we don't need it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's the art of the, what do you call it? Not
Art of the deal?
negotiation. No, art of
Seduction?
the, I don't know. My phone's ringing.
Go get your phone. Go to your phone, and
We'll cover you.
we'll wrap this up. I mean, essentially, I think they don't have any buyers. I think that's what's really going
I
on.
think it's really strange, though. I mean, if WebOS actually does have a good patent, patents associated with it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, considering what's going on with Android, like why Google's not like, hey, you know what? We could totally use those. We're patent poor, and we have a ton of money. Or Apple could do it because they have a bunch of cash reserves. If they wanted it, they could just get it for the patents.
Even at hundreds of millions, which is a loss for HP, I'm not sure that people want to buy it just for the patents at this point.
Right.
If that were the case, Google would have snapped it up already. But I think they look at it and go,
If Google's willing to buy Motorola Mobility, which had like a whole consumer electronics arm and like other electronics pieces, why not this? There's only a couple $100 million.
Because it's worth it, because HP wants to sell it as an operating system, and Google wouldn't want to use it as an operating system. They'd want to buy it for parts.
That's also probably why Schmidt's going around saying, "Oh yeah, stay with us. We're good.
Don't
buy
WebOS.
WebOS. Please don't buy
Right.
WebOS."
Let's move on to the news fuse.
Wow.
That was
Sorry, I was
extravagant.
just finishing
that
my game.
was-
That was the
High
sound
score.
of the U.S. Senate introducing a new bill called Marketplace Fairness Act.
Wow, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's an awesome sounding
C-SPAN
bill.
is great.
It would authorize states to require online retailers to collect and remit sales taxes even if that retailer does not have a physical presence in the state. You might think that Amazon would be all upset about this, but they're not. There's an exception for small businesses that make less than $500,000 in sales, so eBay's upset. And you think, well, why would eBay care? Isn't everybody on eBay making less than $500 million? No, actually, eBay makes a lot of its money from big sellers that sell more than $500 million. So they're like, this is bad for our customers. However, Amazon says, you know what, we support this. And the reason Amazon supports it is they know they can't get away from these taxes forever, but this streamlines it and makes every rate the same, and even proposes a possible blended rate that Amazon would just pay once. And then they wouldn't have to pay individually to each and every state. The Communications Industry Association, unsurprisingly, also against this.
Speaking of Amazon, they don't want to be left in a cloud of Nook dust. So their latest press release is reminding the world that the Kindle Fire will support apps including Netflix, Pandora, Facebook, and Zynga games. So what about all those beautiful in-store Nook displays? Huh? Amazon, they say, well, no, wait. Starting on November 15th, Best Buy, Radio Shack, and even other chain stores will also have the newest Kindles if you like that brick-and-mortar experience rather than perusing Amazon.com. Interest for the Fire is pretty high, according to a ChangeWave and RBC Capital Markets survey. 5% polled said that they had pre-ordered or were very likely to buy the Fire. The iPad in 2010 only got to 4%, so demand does sound high.
We need a stinger that says insta-correction, because I just said $500 million. It's $500,000, if that makes the story make more sense for you.
BlackBerry users, please sit down. I've got some bad news for you. Google says it will no longer support the Gmail app for BlackBerry as of November 22nd. If you already have the app, don't worry, it'll keep working, but Google won't be updating it. Google suggests using its web app. We even received an email about it. Ed Godboys says, I can't say that I'm surprised or care much personally, but this might make things more difficult for me.
A new Pew Internet and American Life Project study concludes that most American teens are, quote, mostly kind to one another on social network sites. This is why you shouldn't just jump to what you think is true and actually look at some numbers. Only 20% of those polled said their peers were mostly unkind. The most frequent bullying actually was in person, 12% of teens, followed by text messaging at 9%. So social networks, not the bullying playground that a lot of people
bully somebody, do it in their
fear.
face.
Yeah.
Just don't read your texts. Stay on Facebook.
Or go anywhere
You'll
in
be
person.
much happier. The AP is reporting that all major cable companies, all of them, will offer internet service for $9.95 per month to households with children that are eligible for free school lunches. The program, called Connect to Compete, will begin next summer and promises a minimum of 1 megabits per second download speed. PCs will also be available for $250 from Microsoft and $150 from Redemtech. If those prices are too much for a family, Morgan Stanley is working on a microfinance lending program.
Michael Stieber, a Cult of Mac blogger, filed a bug report with Apple asking for Siri support on more devices. I just give all the bad news today. Apple dashed hopes by responding with Siri only works on iPhone 4S, and we currently have no plans to support older devices. Looks like the only way you're going to get Siri on a non-iPhone 4S is through hackery.
Which is what people will do. A person named Rosca Tripas, a moderator of a popular Mexican social network, Nuevo Laredo en Vivo, has been murdered, allegedly for tipping off authorities about the local drug cartel. Wired notes this is the 4th social media networker killed in Nuevo Laredo within the last 3 months.
AOL, Microsoft, and Yahoo are now BFFs forever. And ever, since their ad deal is official. Maybe not ever, but for now. The companies held a press conference via phone to make the announcement that the three would share portions of their unsold inventory through their collective networks. If this sounds familiar, it is. Rumors of the deal floated around in September. Now it's official.
The Atlantic reports that Yap, a voice-to-text company, was purchased by Amazon 2 months ago, and now Amazon's name isn't on the SEC filing for the merger, but CLT, a Charlotte-based blog, did some detective work by tracking the address of the surviving company to an Amazon-owned building. Of course, this is fueling speculation that Amazon will build in some kind of voice command into its Kindles one day.
One day.
Everyone's
Hey,
calling this a Siri competitor. It's a voice-to-text.
Everybody needs to do that. It's voice to text. It's not voice recognition.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they have technology in there, but I haven't seen that.
It can do the one side of Siri, the reading back the responses.
That's perfect.
So maybe they've just got to go buy a voice recognition now. Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
You can use something you have with you right now to create power. No
Unless
extra
you got
cost.
rid of it.
Stay hydrated, everybody, and listen up.
Microbial fuel cells are not new. They're generally fed using specific bacteria, sometimes found in the soil, combined with sugars and other chemical components to create power. But if you're watching the video, you already know the punchline. Urine can now be used to generate power. According to the University of Western England in Bristol, they have become the first in the world to generate power using straight urine as a fuel source.
So, okay. All right. No, I love this idea because this is something that everybody has the capability to
produce,
pay
Contribute
into,
to.
if it were.
Pay it forward.
See, right.
Or pee it forward.
Oh, wonderful. We have our show title. But so what if you happen to be more hydrated than the next person? It's like more processing power to get to the good stuff, get rid of the water?
I imagine they probably,
Tell me, Tom.
you can supply more fuel than is necessary to power the fuel. So I don't think it would have an imbalance amongst hydrated versus less hydrated
Dr.
people.
Mom points out that this can make beer a new fuel source.
That's right.
Now, I mean, you have to just keep drinking.
Pubs will be
right.
self-powered.
There you go. Or maybe even sports stadiums
We'll give
will
you
have
a
extra
discount.
lighting during like the 7th inning stretch.
The bathroom will issue you a ticket based on your deposit, and then you can get a free beer.
You know, Last Call might get changed forever because of this.
That's right.
We could stay running all night.
It would power like, a giant party at the end, just a lot of strobe lights.
Additionally,
Keep going, everybody.
After its use in MFC, it's possible to extract pure nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from urine for use in fertilizers. So you can do the whole thing. The pub can grow their own food in the back using the fertilizers as well.
Mmm.
Yummy.
Beer nuts.
Seriously. Literally. Let's take a break and thank our sponsors. The episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox. Slingbox introduced their new iPad app, and now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. Find Slingbox or see a demo at Best Buy. You hook up Slingbox to your home internet connection and your home television connection, and you can watch anything you get on your television anywhere in the world that you have an internet connection. Check it out. Go to Best Buy, see a demo, or just visit slingbox.com. Slingbox and your home TV now appearing on iPads everywhere. It's turning your iPad into another television. You can just carry around with you, like it's in a suitcase or something.
And it's not even that heavy.
No.
It's very light.
Exactly. Now let's check something light, the calendar.
No, it's heavy on riches. ICANN began the land rush.
You're an embarrassment of riches.
Of .xxx domains. Yesterday, the land rush started for those.
Oh, we missed this.
Yeah, it's accepting applications
I'm
during the land
embarrassed.
rush until the 25th of November. Well, you got time.
Oh, we got into, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's in its infancy. Go forth, land rush, for .xxx domains. Nintendo is turning Times Square into Mushroom Kingdom for its Super Mario 3D Land launch. That's on Sunday, November 13th. That should make avoiding hordes of camera-wielding tourists more impossible than usual.
Also, a couple people will be like, am I really seeing this?
Yeah, I think I ate something bad.
It's real this time,
at
I swear.
TGIF's.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. The Windows Phone-powered HTC Titan will hit AT&T stores November 20th for $200. This is the phone with 4.7-inch screen, 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, 8-megapixel rear cam. Pretty cool. The CEO of AT&T Labs, Krish Prabhu, announced that AT&T will bring LTE Advanced to its network in 2013.
So the real 4G.
Well,
for once.
the best one so
LTE
far.
Advanced.
If you're wondering why 2013, well, he didn't really say, but it is also the same year that Sprint promised the same technology. So I don't know. They all need a little bit of time. Back in June, Ericsson achieved 1 gigabit per second speeds with LTE Advanced. So it sounds like 2013 might be our magic year for true 4G.
If we survive 2012.
Right, which we don't know that yet. We just don't know.
Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Sean from New Jersey has a theory for Google's master plan with its new pages on Google+. Check it out.
Hey, this is Sean from New Jersey, and I took a look at Google Plus pages and created a page, and I noticed at the very bottom of the page it talked about Google Plus Direct Connect, which allows you to create a keyword. But the problem is you can't really just create this keyword. It's going to use its typical crowdsourcing and relevancy, level of interest, and so forth to create and generate these keywords. So I'm wondering if Google's master plan here isn't to just sort of make the URL completely irrelevant. Because if you think about it, those keywords like a plus McDonald's or a plus Nike, those can start to take over the way that we're traditionally looking for sites. This could be part of their master plan. It'd be a great thing because the whole URL world right now, domain names are a complete mess. So just a thought. Love you guys. Keep it up.
Thanks for the thought, Sean. Now go see to your baby.
Right, was that what that was?
Somebody thought it was a screaming horse. It could have been a slaughterhouse.
Screaming horse?
I don't know what a screaming
It
horse
kind of
sounds
sounded like one of those Halloween tricks where you watch like a beautiful, it's like a nice little field, and then you get that like ghost going, wah, and scaring
You just had
you.
to open another tab.
Right, it's always in Flash. Those are always Flash videos.
But as to his point of is Google trying to replace URLs so that you just use Google for everything, there's already plenty of people who do that. If you ever look at the Google search trends, you see things like Facebook.com because people are typing it into the Google search bar instead of typing it into the address bar. And so this would just take it one more step.
Sometimes with hilarious results. I know that there was a story a while ago where Facebook is one of the most Googled terms, and somehow a read-write web article got to the top. So when they got to Facebook, they were like, why did you redesign the site? Why is it red? So, I mean, if SEO is, if this is what Google wants, right? I mean, they want you to use Google for everything. What's the point of having an awesome, spending like thousands of dollars on a four-letter domain if you can just go?
Although it only takes you to the Google page, so it's not going to replace URLs because there's plenty of people who want you to go directly to the URL and not have to go through Google Plus to get there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if this is their master plan, sure, I'm sure in a perfect world, Google would love it to work this way, but think of how much work they would have to do to get anybody to be okay with, I mean, if I search for Iyaz and I get his Google profile page rather than his actual personal homepage, well, I don't know. I mean, do you want that?
Well, I mean, I could see the benefits of that because then when you go to Google and then you go to their page, you know where all the data is going to be right away. Instead of going like, how do I navigate this? Where are things? I mean, this is one of the reasons people like Facebook all the time. They know where everything is anyway. But, I mean, I guess that would be just about SEO, right? Whatever's going to show up top. Or you just have an outbound link somewhere on your Plus page.
I see these things as always being supplementary. There's been a lot of these types of things. Like, oh, MySpace is just going to replace pages. They're going to replace blogs because MySpace gives everybody a blog. That didn't happen. I think Google Plus Pages is going to be popular, but even with the direct connect of being able to put in pluses, I think you'll see that a lot. As we mentioned when we talked about this story at the bottom of like, for more, go to put plus Google. And so it will increase the usage of that, but I don't think it replaces it.
Well, and they also have to get past the duplicate brand names. I mean, we had an official TWiT and then another TWiT page that looked just like our TWiT, and none of us here could figure out how to get rid of that other one.
Double TWiTs, what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like,
all the
I
way
don't know.
across the Google+.
Gonna have to think that one through.
Finally got an email from Andrew in London, who is among many people who stuck up for Apple kicking Charlie Miller out of the developers program, saying, hey, you know what? He violated the rules. The developers program says you can't do what he did, and so they kicked him out. We never said that Apple didn't have the right to kick him out. We just said that maybe it wasn't the best idea. Maybe they could have waived the rules in this case, or at least that's what I said. However, Andrew went on and said, really, the point of the story is that Apple must put in place a robust system whereby devs can report security threats, which are then acted on quickly. Bug reporting is insufficient for this. If this hole was in fact reported to Apple by Miller and they did not acknowledge it sufficiently quickly, his recourse ought to have been to publicize that he had found a serious hole without providing any details at all and offering to demonstrate it to reputable journalists on a strictly confidential basis, just his 2 pence, because he is in London. So, and he's taking one of the many sides in this issue of responsible disclosure. Charlie Miller did follow what many people feel is responsible disclosure because he didn't make the details of the exploit public. He just made the facts of it public, which is, you know, what's the difference between going to some responsible journalists and publishing it yourself, as long as it's published responsibly. And he has given the details to Apple and given them time to issue a patch. But a lot of people feel that if you don't make a deadline for when you're going to make it public, that manufacturers will drag their heels and they won't fix the vulnerabilities. And as Andrew points out, Apple doesn't have a robust security reporting relationship with security researchers. I mean, they do have a security reporting email address that you found,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you have to do a search for product security, and then you can send an email to product-security@apple.com. That's far from a robust system. That's send out an email to Apple, and good luck. Who knows if they'll ever get back to you.
But I mean, if somebody is a security expert, it wouldn't be that hard for them to find this. And don't you think that Apple would be monitoring messages that are coming in through that channel?
But that's been the problem with so many companies is that
they're not
say, well, we have an email address and we got your email, but there's not a system to let the researcher know, yes, we've responded it, here's what we're doing.
Like a help desk kind of system.
You want to have a relationship with guys like Charlie Miller who actually are responsible and know what they're doing so that you can fix it, because what happens a lot of times is the manufacturers say, well, you know what, we're just going to throw it under the rug, but don't tell them. We just keep them from saying anything in public. And then only the bad guys end up knowing what the vulnerability is, because if the security researcher found it, you know that the hackers out there who aren't telling the public about it also found it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. You can submit stories and vote on stories at technewstoday.reddit.com. Go, stop by, see what they're talking about there. There's all kinds of great stuff, and we do look at that when we decide what to talk about on Tech News Today. We thank everybody who submits stories and votes there. Also, submit your favorite moments of Tech News Today. If you got that one thing that you've been thinking, you know, that was the funniest or that was the best moment, that was the smartest thing one of the guests said, go to twit.tv/bestof. Give us the episode number, the air date. If you got the time code of when it happened, that would be awesome. And Jason will put that all together for our year-end special of the best moments of Tech News Today. We need your help. Get in there and pee it forward at twit.tv/bestof. That's it for this edition of Tech News Today. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can also email us, tnt@twit.tv, and give us a call. Let us know what you think, 260-TNT-SHOW. Ina Fried from All Things D is on the show tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Hey, it's like Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I got the blue. Whoa. You've got the red. Well, it's pink, but, you know, it's kind of... Strike me down, and I will only become more powerful.